Hello and welcome to my channel, Talisman Tarot. In this reading I will be asking Spirit and the cards about your relationship with your mother, how you can heal that relationship with your mother. I will be asking about how your relationship with your mother was in the past, and I will also ask about how your relationship with your mother is now and how you can heal or strengthen that relationship that you have with your mother. And so I have 4 groups for you. This is group number 1, this is group number 2, this is group number 3, and this is group number 4. And so I will ask you to use your intuition to choose the right group for you. And so let's proceed to the reading. Group number 1, you chose this Herkimer diamond, and so I will start with a channeled message and then I will proceed to the cards. And so the first thing I think of is that your mother might have been a bit absent. She might have worked a lot throughout your childhood. For some of you, I think your father might have had a temper. I think I just thought of the fable, like a fable from La Fontaine. It's called The North Wind and the Sun. And in this fable, there is a man riding a horse, and the north wind and the sun is keeping an eye on this horseman, looking at this horseman from like the sky, and the sun the sun makes a bet with the north wind that he can make the horseman take his jacket off quicker than the north wind can, and the north wind takes that challenge, and so the north wind tries to blow the jacket off the horseman, and by blowing the north wind is actually destroying all the cities around the horseman, but the horseman is still wearing his jacket, and then the sun creates a small ray of sunshine, and the horseman starts to sweat and takes the jacket off, and so the sun of course wins, and so I think your father was the north wind. I think your father would get angry and frustrated over the smallest things. I think, like for example, if he asked you to take your jacket off, and you refused, he would try to force you into taking the jacket off. He would yell at you and make a scene, and that would just make you even more obsessed about keeping your jacket on. Like it didn't work because he was using force instead of like just being kind and asking kindly, like your mother. I think your mother did. So I think your mother might have been like the overbearing parent, and your father was the frustrated and angry parent who was more more aggressive in a way. And so I think your mother had a way to actually maneuver you into, like, for example, taking your jacket off. Like she had a way to make you do what she wanted, but maybe actually in a way where she would like make you think that it was actually your idea to begin with. And so I think your mother was really good at handling you when you were a child. And so maybe your mother got custody over you. Like if your parents got a divorce, your mother might have got custody, and I think this might have been why she was a bit absent. I think for some of you, your mother was a single mother with no help from your father, and she might have worked a full-time job even. And like even if your mother wasn't a single parent and your parents didn't get a divorce, I think your mother felt like a single parent because your father wasn't very helpful, and so she had to do everything by herself. I don't actually think your mother remembers your childhood. I think the time just flew by, but of course, like for a child, these years felt like a lifetime. I think for you it felt like a year, but for your mother it felt like an hour. Like if you understand what I mean, I think your mother just lived day by day. She didn't have the time to really think things through, and maybe she actually didn't truly know you as a child. I think she was loving, but I don't think she had the time to actually get to know you. And I think for some of you, you might have started bonding with her after you moved away from home. I think you have a closer bond today, but I don't think you had that growing up. But you have been able to form it now that your mother is less stressed out. Maybe your mother was also very focused on her career, but I think she realized that it wasn't important at some point, and I think this has created a lot of time for you to actually get to know each other better. Also, if your parents are still together and didn't get a divorce, then you might have then now you might be able to bond more with her because you have her more one-on-one. Like she can visit you without your father and bond with you alone. This could also be if you had a stepfather, and maybe he was in the way of you two truly bonding with each other. So for some of you, if it maybe it was actually a stepfather who was this aggressive one, and not your own father. Maybe your own father just left you when you were like a child, and never actually took part in your life. I think your father might have been a bit selfish. I think maybe your father left your mother for someone else. Maybe he actually cheated on your mother. For others of you, I think this person just like your father just left to live by himself, to free himself from all responsibility. Maybe your father had a drinking problem. I also think your father might have suffered from some mental illness, like also with the fable before about the north wind and the sun trying to blow the jacket off the horseman's back. I think your father might have tried to get custody, which might have turned quite ugly and actually ruined your relationship with your father more than like he might have intended to actually do good, but it ended up doing a lot of damage actually. And so I also think that maybe your father badmouthed your mother a lot, or her new boyfriend. I actually think he was, maybe in some cases he was actually the one who left your mother, but he still wanted to control what happened at your mother's house. He criticized your mother's parenting. He might have criticized that your mother was too overbearing, that she didn't discipline you enough. But let's draw some cards. So, firstly, how with the Ace of Pentacles, I think money might have been a very dominant factor in your childhood. I think money might have stood in the way of your relationship. I think this is referring to how much your mother worked in your childhood, and also with the Ten of Pentacles, I think it is referring to money, but I think your mother worked a lot, but I also think this has to do with your grandparents. I think your mother might have sent you to your grandparents' house as a child. You might have spent a lot of time with your grandparents if your mother was working a lot, and maybe also was a single parent. I think you were sent to your grandparents maybe even daily. Maybe your grandparents actually picked you up from school every day and babysat you, and then your mother would pick you up after work. This could actually also have been an aunt or aunt. So I think your mother was very stressed, and I don't think you had much quality time with her. But with how the relationship is today, I think with the Nine of Cups here, I think your bond has strengthened as soon as you moved away from home. I think as soon as you withdrew from the family, you got your wish fulfilled. Maybe also as you detached from your father or your stepfather, I think you might have reattached to your mother, but also with this shooting star. I think you might have lost your mother, but maybe you have actually reconnected with her after her death. For some of you, maybe you are psychics and you have felt her presence more now than you did when she was alive, but that's only maybe one of you, of course. But I think the most of you, I think your mother is alive and well, but maybe this is also about phone calls. Maybe you have reconnected as soon as you started to call each other. Also, I think your phone calls might be more intimate than when you meet in person, because you can talk more freely and you can talk about other things on the phone than you can in person. And if this hasn't happened yet, I think you might need to give it a try. Maybe this could really heal your relationship if you talked more on the phone. I think also think with the Two of Cups, Two of Wands, but also Two of Cups. There are two twos here, so but I will take the Two of Cups first. I think you might have had long talks throughout the night with a glass of wine, like in the picture here. Like and with the Two of Wands here as well, I think you're starting to plan ahead together, like which you didn't do in your childhood. Your mother was like in the past. Your mother was not able to plan ahead. She was not able to plan anything. She lived day by day. She never planned any vacations or trips or parties or celebrations. Like she never had time for that. So I think she might not have done anything exciting with you growing up, because she was always just trying to survive. The future was just a stress factor for her, and so she usually just ignored the future. And so I think you actually might feel like your mother is starting to plan more, and she wants to do exciting things with you. This might actually annoy you a bit, because it's bad timing. She might be talking about all the places she wants to travel with you after the pandemic, and you might feel like that's a bit annoying, because you can't really deal with that right now. And you might also feel like your mother only wants to travel because she can't, and you might also be like skeptical. You are afraid that when the pandemic ends, she will forget all these ideas and plans. Like you might feel like she is making empty promises. But I think she is actually serious. I don't think it is just because she's like a child who only wants the toy she can't have. I think she really is starting to plan the future and plan like vacations and things like that with you. And she's mostly planning about you. I think she wants to do the things she didn't get to do with you in your childhood. And maybe it is Corona that has made her realize that life is short and that we need to cherish each moment we have with each other. Maybe she has been very lonely lately, and maybe that is also why you have been calling her so much, or why you should be calling her more. Maybe you haven't been able to meet a lot physically, so you have had all your conversations over the phone, and maybe you have really gotten to know each other a lot this way. Maybe you have talked about things that you wouldn't have talked about in person. And so, but I think to strengthen this relationship, I think you need to be the Queen of Swords, and it's all about, like, the air signs are, it's the air queen, and the air signs are about communication. And so I think communication is important to strengthen your relationship, getting to know each other better, gathering information and knowledge about each other. I think you will realize, if you haven't already, that you have a lot in common with your mother, actually. And your mother might even be into spirituality as well. maybe your mother is actually psychic, and maybe you can actually have really amazing talks about spirituality and religion and even philosophy with your mother. And also for some of you, like if your mother has passed away, I think you would benefit from actually visiting a medium, like with the crystal ball in this picture here. I think you would benefit from visiting a medium, or if you are a psychic yourself, you could try to make contact with her yourself. I also think that like when you get children of your own, I think you will realize how fast time flies. I think you will realize that what I said before, with what felt like years as a child feels like an hour or a day for a mother. And you might realize that it is hard to do everything right when you are working against the clock, when you don't have enough hours in a day to actually do all the things you want to do with your children. I think you will realize that your mother did whatever she could, and you might also realize that a lot of things that you remember clear as day is actually something your mother has no recollection of. So you might be mad over things that your mother doesn't even remember, and maybe you are waiting for her to apologize, but it's hard to apologize for things you don't remember. And so I think you need to talk to your mother, tell her about your childhood, refresh her memory, and then I am sure you will get an apology from her, but you need to let her know first. I also think you should get to know her as well. If you feel like your mother never truly took the time to get to know you growing up, you should of course demand that she does that now. But I think you both would benefit if you as well would take the time to get to know her, especially since I think you will realize that you have a lot more in common than you think. I think you should reach out to her, bury the hatches, and like with a Nine of Pentacles here, the sun is offering all these coins, and the children are catching them with like baskets. And so I think you need to be open to receive from your mother as well. Like don't turn her down, like with for example the travel plans. Don't be so skeptical. Don't turn her down when she wants to show you her love. Be accepting of the love she wants to give to you. So that's what I see for you, group number 1. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in my next reading. Bye. So group number 2, you chose this Larimar. So I will start with a channeled message, and then I will proceed to the cards. So the first thing that comes to mind with this Larimar stone is a healer of some sort. So I think your mother is a caretaker of some sort. I get a strong feeling that your mother could be a kindergarten teacher, or someone who takes care of children for a living. She could also be a therapist. Maybe she's a children's therapist. Like this is well, this is not always a positive thing, though. Like my mother is, well, my mother is a kindergarten teacher, and I even went to the same kindergarten as my mother worked at growing up, and the other children would always envy me because I had her as a mother, but my mother was not the same person when she was at the job as she was when she came home. My mother has also told me many times that like the worst parents are the ones who work with children for a living, because children become their job, and so and no one likes to take their job home with them, and so to catch a break from their daytime job, that also means taking a break from their own children as well. I think you might have experienced a similar thing with your mother. I also think you experienced that there was two sides to your mother as well, and I think many of you have experienced that you witnessed your mother taking care of other children and being this fun and overbearing person with a lot of energy, and then when she would get home, she never made an effort to do anything fun, and she might even have gotten frustrated with you very easily over the smallest things, while you had seen other children be much more difficult around your mother without her even twitching an eye. Like maybe some of you actually had to share your mother with other children in your own house. Like maybe your mother was a foster parent for other children, and I think this was really a beautiful thing, but it might have taken some of the attention away from you, and maybe she was a bit more overbearing with these other children. Maybe if they had if they had been through a lot in their life, your mother would smother them a bit while still being quite strict with you. So you might have felt like that was unfair, and your mother might have justified it by demanding that these children had she might have justified it by reminding you that about all the things that these children had been through, and that you should have compassion for them, and you shouldn't compare yourself with them, or that it was two different things. That she might even have made you feel bad about even questioning it. Like she might have shamed you a bit, and she might even have told you that she was disappointed in you, that you couldn't understand that these children was more in need. She might even have said something to you like, I thought you had more empathy, or something like that. And for some of you, this was actually a bit ironic, because these children had been neglected in the past, and so your mother tried to make up for that by actually neglecting her own children. And but for others of you, I actually don't think your childhood was that bad. I think for many of you, your mother managed to both care for other people's children and for her own. And even though you might have felt like your mother was nicer to them than she was to you, that she cared, and you might have felt like she cared more about them than she did you, I don't think that was the case at all. I think your mother was tougher on you because she kept a higher standard for you. She had higher expectations for you, and I think it has worked. I think you are a really empathetic human being. I think you are really socially intelligent, and today I actually think your relationship with your mother is quite good. I think it has really transformed throughout the years. I think a lot of it might have to do with the fact that you have started to appreciate your mother's work more as you have gotten older. I think you see how charitable she was and how much she actually sacrificed to help others, and also I think you have realized that you have her to thank for the person you have become today, that you have learned from an early age to show compassion and help others. Of course, well, this might have made you prone to like self-sacrifice, but self-sacrifice is not necessarily a bad thing. For some of you, this, like, I think the fact that you were taught empathy and self-sacrifice from an early age is actually the root to your psychic gifts. Like, if you have psychic gifts, I get a strong sense that you might have, and I think you became an empath quite early, like as a teenager, because you developed this concern for other people's well-being, and that made you tap into other people's energies. It made you blend your own energy with other people's energies, and this is very easy for people who don't have their own energy, if that makes sense, and that is usually because people have sacrificed it to others from an early age, and like you have walked so much in other people's shoes that you have not been able to break your own shoes in, but I think as you became used to living in other people's energies as a teenager, like, you developed the gift of reading people's minds, and so I think this childhood was actually really beneficial for you. So even if it might have been hectic at times, but let's draw some cards, and first about your childhood. So Knight of Cups, Ace of Pentacles, and 10 of Cups. And so I think with the Knight of Cups, that kind of makes sense. I think your relationship with your mother helped you develop your intuition. Like, the Knight of the Knights are gifts and or offerings, and the Cup suit is quite psychic, and intuitive, and so it makes sense that your relationship with your mother actually developed your psychic gift. Your mother could be psychic as well. With the 10 of Cups, I think there was a lot of love between you and your mother in your childhood. Also, like, even if your mother didn't run a foster home, like I said before, I think your mother, I think your childhood home was very open. The door was always open, and people could come and go as they pleased. with the Ace of Pentacles, this could again have to do with your psychic gifts, that your relationship with your mother in your childhood actually created the roots to your future career. Doesn't have to be spirituality. It could also be something else that has to do with caretaking or nursing or healing others. And so I think you were offered the gift of empathy in your childhood, so that you could start developing it from an early age, so that when you would become an adult, you would have an advantage in a field where empathy is important. And so for some reason I looked at this card and I thought, like, there's just one pentacle, and I've never interpreted any of the aces as just one, like just one, but it like only one, but must have some significance. Like, so I think for some of you might have had a lack of money growing up, but I think you had abundance in other things. I think you had an abundance of love. I don't think your mother was very focused on material things. I think she might have said, it's just money, like a lot, that it's just money. Money doesn't mean anything. It's just money. It can, as long as we have our lives and well-being, money is just money. It's just a thing, and I think like if an accident happened and something had to be replaced, she would always calm you down and say it's just money. Like if the car got a bump, she would say it's just money. As long as we are all okay, money doesn't matter. Actually, you could have also had enough money, but your mother just didn't care about money. It wasn't important for you. So, but let's draw some cards about how your relationship with your mother is right today. So the Empress, the Hierophant, and the World. So what I see here for your relationship today, I think with the Empress here, I think you might feel like you have finally gotten a mother, like a mother for yourself. Maybe you don't have to share her with others anymore. But also I think you might have children yourself now, and so now you might appreciate more the work your mother did in your childhood, and maybe motherhood has strengthened your bond with your own mother, because she has become maybe she has become a grandmother to your children, and now you're happy that she's good with your own children. But that's only for a few of you. But most of you, I think you feel like you don't have to share your mother with others anymore. Like also with the Hierophant here, I think things are more traditional now than the normal family constellation, like with parents and their children and no one else in the picture. And with the World here, sometimes I think of Ouroboros, the snake biting its own tail. I think it has gone full circle in a way. Things are back to normal. You started out as a normal family, and then a lot of things happened, and for some of you the home was opened up to other people, but now the family is starting to get normal again. But it also talks about ending something to make room for a new beginning. You need to let go of something in order for you to have a strong relationship together. I think it is important that you talk to your mother about your childhood, but I think you should do this with a goal in mind, that you want closure and not to dwell on it. And I think as soon as you have talked everything out, you can leave it behind and look forward to a new beginning of your relationship, where you can start afresh. Also, with, like you can see here, like with the 4 symbols here, like the human, the eagle, and the ox, and the lion. These are symbols that, well, they're not from, they have nothing to do with Christianity per se, but in Christianity we have used these 4 symbols as representing each of the 4 Gospels, and of course the 4 Gospels are 4 sides to the same story. And so I think you have learned in the last years that your mother had a different view on many of the things that happened in your childhood, and I think it has been really beneficial for your relationship that you have been open to hear her side of the story. And if that has not happened yet, I think it might be a good idea to hear her side of the story. She might have a different view on many of the things that happened, but I also think your relationship is really valuable now, because you can reach out to each other and share different views on the same event or the same situation. Like if you are at an event with your mother and something happens, if you get in an argument with someone, or if your mother gets in an argument with someone, you can use each other to reflect on the situation afterwards. And I think you know that both you and your mother will always tell the truth. You will tell her if she overreacted or something like that. So I think it's important that you actually talk more to your mother, because I think it would be equally beneficial for both of you. And so that's what I see for you, group number 2. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in my next reading. Bye. Hello group number 3. You chose this Tanzanite, and so I will start with a channeled message, and then I will proceed to the cards. And so I think you had a rocky relationship with your mother growing up. I think you might have had your ups and downs with your mother. You might have had some self-esteem issues as a child, and I think your mother might have played a huge part in that. I think your mother might have been a bit focused on keeping up appearances and looking a certain way, and that everything had to look perfect from the outside. And like with this stone here, if you look at the surface of the stone, there's like a glittery surface, and so I think your mother wanted everything to look perfect on the surface. And well, there could be rats in the walls and water in the basement, but as long as it looked good from the outside, it didn't matter how it looked on the inside. For some of you, I think your mother would criticize you growing up, maybe your appearance, and I think some of you actually developed bulimia because your mother would criticize your weight, and for others of you, I don't think your mother directly criticized your weight or appearance, but she might have criticized her own weight in front of you or her own appearance in front of you. She might have talked about how fat she was and how she needed to lose weight, and so she signalized very strongly that it wasn't okay to be overweight, and your mother might have actually had an eating disorder as well, maybe bulimia as well, and so I think you became very aware of your own appearance from a very early age, and like your weight. And even if this wasn't weight, it could also have been something else, like your mother might have complained about how big her forehead was, and then you looked yourself in the mirror and realized that you had the exact same forehead as your mother. And so I think many of your insecurities actually came from your mother. I think your mother was very insecure. She never felt like she was pretty enough. Maybe her own mother actually criticized her as well. I think so. I think some of you might have had like stomach aches in your childhood, like maybe irritable bowel syndrome or stomach cramps growing up. So, but let's draw some cards. So, 10 of Pentacles, 4 of Wands, Knight of Wands, and so I think with the 10 of Pentacles here, I think your mother might have had a drinking problem. I also think your mother might have been focused on money. Maybe she married a wealthy man. This could have been your father. This could also be the reason why she always felt like she wasn't pretty enough or good enough. Maybe your father's family was upper class and she never felt like she was pretty or good enough for them, and she always had to live up to their standard, that she had to wear expensive clothes and expensive jewelry to fit in. And I actually don't think your mother was like that at all. For others of you, I think your parents might have gotten a divorce and your mother might have had several partners throughout your childhood. So with the 4 of Wands here, I think like it's a fire and there's like flowers growing out of the fire. So first of all, your mother could be a fire sign and you could be an earth sign. and like out of the fire the earth is growing out. But I also think there's an aspect of fortune growing out of misfortune. This fire should burn these plants, but instead it looks like the plants are actually growing out of the fire. And so I think your relationship with your mother in your childhood somehow worked out, even though it was against all odds. Also, I think there might have happened something in your childhood. Maybe you were in an accident, or maybe you were anorexic, and maybe your mother nearly lost you. Maybe you were close to dying at some point, but you survived. And I think this might have made your relationship with your mother closer. But it could also be that you actually had a lot of arguments with your mother growing up. You might have fought a lot, yelled a lot at each other, and slammed the door at each other. And but she might actually have made might actually have made you closer to each other. But so I think your relationship was more passionate. Like you might have come from a culture where people just argued more with each other, or where people argue more with each other, like Italy or South America, or somewhere like that. And so maybe people might have thought that like your arguments were very serious, like even when you just talked normally to each other, you might have made people around uncomfortable because they thought you were just about to start a fight or something like that. But you weren't. You were just talking normally, and that was just the way you talked to each other. So I think with a Knight of Wands here, like I think the key to the treasure chest was within you. I think you might not have seen the treasure within your mother growing up. I also think your mother was closed off growing up, and it was hard for you to actually understand her growing up. But I think the key to understanding her was within yourself. And so I think you actually were very similar to your mother, but for some reason I think you alienated her as when you were a child. You didn't really see all the things you had in common with her. Maybe it was because you hadn't discovered those things within yourself at the time. But also I think, well, for some of you, your mother might have lacked empathy for you. I think your mother didn't understand you because maybe this was her not being able to understand you, because your mother lacked I think the key for your mother to unlock you was to look within herself and try to relate to you and your emotions, and try to imagine your feelings and your thoughts, which I don't think she did very often. I think your mother might have been very different from you, but I think your mother had a hard time relating to you because she herself had drifted so much away from her own true self. For some of you, or maybe only one of you, I actually think your mother was very different before she got married, probably to your father. Like before that, she didn't care much about her appearance. She might even have been a tomboy, but I think she felt pressured to let go of that side of her. So for some of you, I think you. Okay, so for some reason it's coming in that I think you were an only child, or the first child. Your parents, I think if you were the first child, I think like sometimes we forget that there is also challenges for the first child. We always hear about the first child getting all the parents' attention and then lashing out as soon as the second child comes along, because oh no, now there's a new child that to share the attention with. But people tend to forget one thing, and that is that when a couple gets their first child, they need to adapt as well. They have been two people in that relationship for a long time, and so they have to adapt to a third person coming into the family as well. And so for the first years, they might actually not be that attentive towards the child because they have not adapted to the situation that much. And so when the second child comes in, it's sometimes actually more favorable for that child, because then the parents have adapted to childhood and like to parenthood, so they are actually better at giving attention to the child, to the second child, or to both children, of course, when the second child comes in. But like, if you know what I mean. So I think your parents had a harder time than most parents with this transition, and this might have been because of your father. I think I think your mother might actually have been distant in your childhood because she didn't want to make your father jealous, which sounds ridiculous, I know, but I think your father might have been this Knight of Wands actually, and I think he was a bit immature and a bit attention-seeking actually, and so actually your mother actually, when you came in, you were actually the second child because the first child was your father. So sorry, that's mean, but I think and so I think that well, it's funny actually, because your father was the first child who got jealous of the second child, and sorry, I'm not supposed to laugh at this, but I think your father had to adapt a lot to you getting the attention from your mother, and like for some of you, I think this could also be a stepfather who came in after your parents got, like, not that like, yeah, I think your parents got a divorce maybe at some point, or for some of you, and so she got a new boyfriend, and this new boyfriend might not have accepted that she had children, and so maybe that could also have been like a part of it. Maybe your mother favored the boyfriend over you growing up, like so I think I also think there's like something coming in about you maybe being embarrassed over your mother, like, and this could have been like a small teenage thing, like where you were embarrassed that she would kiss you in public, but it could also have been more serious, like serious episodes where she would get drunk in public and make a scene in front of your friends or something like that. And so I think I think you have been disappointed with your mother. Like there has happened things that made you really mad at your mother, but I also think that you have had a strong bond with your mother. But let's draw some cards on how your relationship with your mother is today. So 3 of Swords, the High Priestess, and 6 of Swords. And so I think with the 3 of Swords and 6 of Swords, I think you have lost contact with your mother. Some of you might actually have lost your mother, and I am so sorry for you. For others of you, your mother might have done something that disappointed you so much that you had to leave the relationship completely, that you had to cut contact completely. Maybe it was that your mother chose a boyfriend over you, or took her boyfriend's side over you. Maybe your mother cheated on your father, and maybe you chose the father's side and cut contact with your mother for that reason. And but also I think with the High Priestess, I think you have ended things with a lot of loose ends, a lot of things left unsaid. I think there are many secrets that were not revealed. For the ones of you who have lost your mother, I think it would be a good idea to actually contact a psychic medium who can help you get in contact with your mother, to actually get some answers to the questions you never got to ask your mother, and to get closure. But for most of you, your mother is alive and well. I think you had to cut contact because it was too painful. Maybe your mother was a bit narcissistic. She might have given much, she might not have given much thought into how you felt. Like, I think she was too preoccupied with herself and her own issues, and so I think you have chosen to distribute the weight on other people. Maybe you actually have focused a lot, like maybe in the past you focused a lot on your mother. You had a tight relationship with your mother, and she hurt you, and you allowed her to hurt you because you didn't feel like you had others. And so I think this person is walking on swords, and he's walking on 5 swords, and it is giving him wounds. But if he had only walked on 1 sword, the sword would have pierced directly through his foot. So the reason why it hasn't pierced through his foot yet is because there's more swords to distribute the weight on more swords. Like so, I think I think you have reached out to other people. You have found other people in your life that you weren't like, so that you weren't so dependent on your mother. But let's draw some cards on how to heal this relationship. So the Sun, 3 of Pentacles, and 2 of Pentacles. And so I think with I think that with the Sun here, you have successfully detached from your mother, but now it seems like it is actually time to reconnect with her, like the goats here, like they are joined by the hip, and out of that, like out of them are like growing up. It's like growing a tree, like from there, the place where they are joined together. And so I think it's I think when you are joined together, you create something beautiful, even though it is painful and like, but it's important to reconcile. Also, if your mother is no longer physically present, it's still important to reconcile with her. It's. I know that's difficult, but I think you need to rebuild your relationship with her. If you feel like if you feel a lot of anger and resentment towards her, you might need to see a therapist or something like that to actually deal with these emotions and cope with her death. And I also think you would benefit from writing about your childhood and write about your relationship with your mother. Maybe start by just writing a diary, even though I think with the 2 of Pentacles here, I think this could actually give you success in your life. Like on the skull, you can see that there's a manual or like a curse on it, written on it, like, and it says that when the storm comes, the skull will break into 2, and out of it a bag of money will appear. And so I think that as soon as you actually start to write about your childhood and really open up for that gate, even though it will be unpleasant, and it will be a stormy time for you, it will open up for a financial success. Out of the darkness there will come a reward. You will be rewarded for revisiting the past, if that makes sense. Also with the 3 of Pentacles, I think, like, if your mother is alive, I think you need to, you might need to throw her under the bus to gain success, and that sounds really bad, but like you might need to decapitate her, but then you will get a bag of money. But sorry, this is about how, like, this is advice for how you can heal this relationship. Like, so I think it's not. It sounds like bad advice, but I think it isn't. I think like don't think you should be afraid of doing this. Like, maybe if your mother is alive and you're thinking of writing a book about her, you might be afraid that you are exposing her and that you are ruining her life. But I don't think this will be the case at all. I actually think it will draw you closer to each other. But even if it doesn't, like, you should maybe still like consider it, because, well, money. Well, so that's what I see for you, group number 3. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in my next reading. Bye. Hello, group number 4. You chose this Moki Marble, and so I think for some of you, like, I will start with a channeled message and then I will proceed to the cards. But so the first thing that comes to mind is that your mother might have been an immigrant. I think your mother might have moved away from her home country when you were a child, and I think you might have some resentment towards your mother for doing that. I think you feel like your mother moved you away from everything you knew into a completely unknown environment. I also heard martyr, so I think your mother might have felt like a martyr, like she sacrificed everything for you, and that you were ungrateful to not see how she had done all the things she had done all the things she had done in her life to actually create a better life for you. I don't think she was able to see how hard it was for you to live in a different environment and a different culture, to live such a long way from the rest of the family as well. And in a way, I think your mother actually did it for selfish reasons, but she posed as if she was unselfish and she was doing it for you, and like, maybe if you had siblings, like, she was doing it for her other children as well, but really she wanted more opportunities for herself. And in a way, I actually think she wanted to move away from her own family. Maybe something had happened right before you moved away. Maybe there had been an argument in the family and your mother was really disappointed with her own family. And so I think with both well, but that's but let's draw some cards. So first I will draw some cards about how your relationship is with your mother, how your relationship was with your mother in your childhood. And so 5 of Wands, 7 of Pentacles, the Magician, and 5 of Swords. So I think definitely there might have been some arguments, not only with your mother and her family, but also, like, I think you had arguments with your mother as well. I think there might have actually been like a war going on with the 5 of Wands and the 5 of Swords. Like, I think there was a lot of I think it I also think that you had some mental illness in your childhood which your mother did not understand or empathize with. I think she just saw you as difficult. She didn't have compassion for what you were going through. I also think your mother was very good at pointing out that it was always her that had it worst. Like, it was always worst for her, that if you complained that you were feeling sick, she would always say that she was 10 times more sick than you, that she was always trying to undermine all your problems by pointing out how small they were in comparison to her own problems, and so that you should just be happy that you weren't going through the same thing that she was going through. And ironically enough, you were actually going through the same thing as she was going through. The only difference was that she was actually to blame for you going through the same thing as her. Like, if you moved to another country and you complained that it was difficult to adapt, she would just say that it was 10 times more difficult for her, but she never realized that it was not comparable, because in her case it was her own choice, while in your case it was not your own choice, it was her choice. And if it's not about moving to a new country, it could also be about moving to another state or another city, and a long way from home and a long way from your own family, or like the rest of the family. And it could also have been that your mother cut ties to her own family, and in that way also robbed you from having a relationship with your with like your grandparents, for example. And or this could have to do with your father. Maybe your mother got a divorce and moved far away from your father, and didn't want you to have any relationship with your father. And maybe it was a good thing, because your father might not have been the best father in the world. But I also think she was very focused on being the victim in that scenario as well, that if you said that you were sorry about something your father did, your mother would just tell you to imagine how it was for her to be married with your father, like that it was much worse to be his wife than to be his children. I don't think you were able to vent about anything to your mother, because every time you would talk about your feelings with her, she would immediately start talking about her own feelings. I think with the Magician, I think your mother might have been a bit manipulative, and I'm not sorry if you're not, if I'm being too negative towards your mother, but I think she might have been a bit like, I know I shouldn't diagnose people, but she might have had borderline personality disorder. And I think, like, if you criticized her for something, she would gaslight you, and she would make you feel crazy. She would lie, and she she would change the story. She would question question your sanity and think like, and I think you even ended in therapy as a child because you were unsure if you were actually insane, and maybe you even got a diagnosis as a child, but your mother seemed to be the one who actually needed a diagnosis like the most. And I think with the Seven of Pentacles that as your mother had very high expectations of you. She might have wanted you to excel in school and get good grades, but on the other hand, she didn't want to help you with your homework. And if you actually like moved to a different country growing up, she might not have been able to empathize with that situation at all. Like, she had unrealistic goals for you. She wanted you to be the best in your class, and that wasn't a realistic goal because you had to learn a whole new language and you had a lot more obstacles than your classmates. And if you could just manage to keep up with your classmates, that would be impressive by itself. But like, she was really impatient with you. She wanted you to learn everything right away. Maybe that is because she came from a family that was really focused on education, but she just lacked the empathy to, like, empathy needed to actually imagine your obstacles. I think for some of you, your mother was not able to imagine anything that she hadn't experienced herself. If she hadn't experienced being a child in a new country and learning a new language, she couldn't imagine how that would feel. And then those obstacles that came with that, she couldn't see those obstacles, and so those obstacles just didn't exist in her world because she hadn't experienced them herself. And so I think she would hold you to the same high standards as she experienced as a child, without taking into consideration that your childhood was a lot different than hers, that you had different obstacles. Maybe your mother had obstacles growing up as well, but it was other obstacles, and she might even have talked about those obstacles every time you would complain. Like, if she came from a country with less opportunities, she would tell you that you should be grateful that you have so many opportunities, so that you should be grateful that your childhood wasn't like her childhood. But as I see it, your childhood was just as bad as hers, and it was just bad in a different way, but still just as bad. I think. But I think your mother was a master at playing the victim. But let's draw some cards on how your relationship is today. So, King of Pentacles, the Tower, and 10 of Pentacles. And so I think with the Tower here, like, I think you actually have cleaned a lot of the bad things out. Maybe you have talked about the childhood with your mother, and maybe you have managed to make her see some of her mistakes, and so maybe you have been able to actually throw away some of her bad traits. Maybe you have been able to rebuild something new. With the 10 of Pentacles here, I think you have been able to get to a more harmonious state with each other, but it could also be that you have actually reconnected with your grandparents, which might actually have helped you gain a better relationship and understanding of your mother. But for others of you, I think you have just lost contact with your mother completely, which might actually have made you very happy. Maybe you have a boyfriend and who's an earth sign, and this person has really helped you, maybe has helped you stick up for yourself. Maybe he has helped you confront your mother, which has made your relationship better with your mother. Maybe you were afraid of confronting your mother in the past, and maybe because she would always gaslight you, but now that you have a partner by your side, your mother can't say whatever she pleases to you and then deny it afterwards, because now you have another set of ears that can hear what your mother says to you, and so she can't run from it afterwards. And so I think that that's like the when you deal with someone with borderline personality disorder, that's like rule number one. It is to like not talk to the person alone. That you should always have a witness by your side, because people with borderline personality disorder tend to attack you and then deny everything afterwards and convince you that you just made it all up, which is the most frustrating thing in the world. So I think it might have really helped if you have gotten like a partner by your side. And if this is not a partner, I think it could also be someone else, another earth sign, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, who can help you deal with it could also be someone in your family, maybe even your grandfather. Maybe your grandfather knows how to deal with your mother, and so he believes everything you say. He is not as easily manipulated by your mother, and so he can actually confront her if she does something unpleasant to you. Like, he has your back. So, but let's draw some cards on how to deal with how to heal your relationship with your mother. So so 5 of Cups, the Devil, 9 of Pentacles, 4 of Wands, and 2 of Pentacles. So I think with the 5 of Cups here. So okay, so there's actually a lot of 5s here. There's like 2 5, so that's 3 5s here. So maybe like something happened when you were 5, or in 2005, or something with 5. But so maybe 5 is significant. But I think the advice the cards have for you is that you actually need to focus on the negative, which is a bit silly advice, but I think it makes sense in this reading, even though they're like you can see that like there's two cups upright, but there's 3 cups lying down, and so I think you should focus on the 3 cups. Like you shouldn't like let those 2 cups that are still standing upright determine your relationship with your mother, like because it's important that you actually remember all the bad things that happened in your childhood and in your relationship with your mother throughout the years. Like you might have a tendency to forgive your mother, and that is also very normal when dealing with people with borderline personality disorder. They are really charming when they want to be, and sometimes you forget all the bad things just because they are nice to you for a moment, but you need to keep in mind all the bad things she had done. You need to remember that she can turn on you at all times, because I think this is really important for you, because you can't just allow her to disappoint you over and over again, because I see that she can change on you really quickly. Like one moment she is nice, and the next she is like the devil. She can change into the devil, I think at all times, but also with the devil here, like it is also about being tied up and being codependent. And so I think it is really important that you completely stop having any codependency towards your mother, because let's like just become completely independent. Don't let her do anything for you, nothing that will make you owe anything to her. Don't let her own you by making you dependent on her. That is also like with the 9 of Pentacles here. Be completely independent. If she offers to help you or loan you any money, say no. I know that sounds like bad advice, because of course we should be able to ask our parents for help, and I think you can do this, but if you want a relationship with your mother, you shouldn't do this. Like, if you get what I mean. Like if you don't want a relationship with your mother, and you're just ready to throw her out of the tower and say you don't want anything to do with her anymore, then feel free to ask her for money or something like that, because then you don't want a relationship with her anyways. And so but if you actually want to heal this relationship and have a relationship with your mother, I think it's important that you become completely independent. And like I have a stepsister who has borderline personality disorder, and I know it's not the same to have a stepsister as it is to have a mother with borderline personality disorder, but we had the worst relationship growing up. Like, she would treat me as dirt all the time. She would do and say the most horrible things to me, and afterwards she would change the story and make it seem like it was like I was a bad guy. Like once when we were teenagers, we went to a party, me and my stepsister, and she asked me to go with her to the bathroom, and in the bathroom she told me that no guy would ever want to date me, and I told her that that was a mean thing to say, and she got furious and accused me of calling her mean. That it was mean of me to call her mean, but actually I never even called her mean. I called the remark mean, even though she was mean as well. But it was actually not what I said. And when we got out of the bathroom, she told everyone at the party that I had called her a mean bitch, and she turned everyone against me. She said that I had attacked her in the bathroom, and I told them what really happened, that she had told me that I would never get a boyfriend, and I had told her that she was that was a mean thing to say. I told them that, and then she was really quick to change the whole story. She told them all that I was the one who started calling her a mean bitch, and then she was so hurt by that remark that she told me that I would never get a boyfriend if I called people mean. I was so frustrated by this, because like I had never experienced anything so frustrating. Like, I get frustrated thinking about it, because it's like, it's so unfair, and like, how you can't just like create a new story like that. That was not what happened. But like, and I have like learned that when you are dealing with someone with borderline personality disorder, that is just the name of the game. Like, they can shamelessly change the story, and they have the ability to make other people believe in their bullshit, and that's the scary part, because they can ruin people's reputation really, really easily, because they can just make up a story about them. And it's annoying that there are those people in the world, because it makes everyone else like so uncomfortable. But oh well, that's just how it is. But so what I learned from that experience was that, like, I should never be alone with her ever. I should never allow her to take me to the side and take me with her to the bathroom or something like that. I should always have a conversation with her, with other people around, to witness the conversation. And okay, that was actually not what I was going to talk about. That was a bit of a side story. What I wanted to say about my relationship with my stepsister is that it actually became a lot better when I realized that I didn't have to deal with her bullshit, that I could just walk away if she became too difficult, that there was nothing that tied me to her. I didn't need her in my life. And as soon as she could smell that on me, as soon as she could sense that I was no longer going to put up with her bullshit, she started behaving like a human being, like towards me. She actually was afraid of stepping on my toes, because that is also something we need to remember about people with borderline personality disorder. They are extremely afraid of people abandoning them. And so I think as soon as you start making it clear to your mother that you don't need her in your life, that you can cut contact with her if she doesn't behave, I think you will actually be able to have a reunion with her, like with the Four of Wands here. I think there is hope for your relationship if you just take like the chains off. With this devil here, the chains are around the people's necks here, like, but they can just lift like it's like a necklace. They can just lift the chain over their heads, and they can set themselves free from the devil. And this is maybe a bit of a controversial thing I'm about to say, but the devil is not that bad if you are not chained to him. You can have a conversation with him. That can't hurt. Like, if you are free from the devil can actually be charming enough. Like, the devil can't hurt you. And maybe you can even well, the devil is of course your mother in this. I have to be a bit blunt in this, but I think your mother can be very funny, and so you can allow her to amuse you a bit. I know, like, my stepsister, she's fun to be around. She is funny. Like, sometimes mean people are the funniest people. Like, and so maybe your mother is actually fun to be with, and so. But also take breaks from her if you need to. Allow her to miss you sometimes, but also with the Two of Pentacles, this actually makes sense, and maybe this actually sounds a bit manipulative as well, but sometimes you need to manipulate a manipulator, but well, like, the person is balancing the coins, going from one side to the other, weighing his options, like being indecisive and keeping people waiting for a decision. And I think you need to do this towards your mother. Like, I think if you talk to your mother and she asks you to visit her, you just need to say, I don't know if that's a good idea. I need to think about it. And just keep her waiting. Like, don't give her answers right away. You might have done that in the past. You might have been too good at saying yes to things you actually didn't want to do. And maybe with the Tower here, like, you came into like a period in your life where you like maybe recently, where you just said no to everything, and where you just refused to have any contact with your mother. And I think you need to stop saying yes or no to your mother and start saying maybe, and I need to think about it, and things like that. Because if there is something that drives people with borderline personality disorder crazy, it is to get a maybe, because they are very black and white. If you say yes to everything, you become their doormat. If you say no to everything, you become their enemy. But if you say maybe, they don't really know how to respond to that. How they don't know how they should feel about that. But that's what I see for you, group number 4. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in my next reading. Bye.